Today's episode is going to get you thinking about your brand. Does your brand ooze personality? Does it attract attention, and does it make people want to buy? If you're not feeling completely confident that your brand says that, then pull up a chair, have a seat, and take a listen. Our guest today is bringing the magic on the Fitness Business Podcast. Come on, everybody. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for all of the behind-the-scenes action and updates on our current and upcoming guests. Then, once you're done liking us on social media, head to iTunes to leave us a review. Happy 2023 FBP family. Stay focused on those New Year goals and resolutions, and I promise this will be a great year. Hey everybody, I am your host, Dory Nugent. Today on the show, author of Brand Magic, Debbie O'Connor, is here to sprinkle a little magic on your brand. She talks about bringing your bland and boring brand to life. She's a lot of fun, and I think you will take away some great information to implement. Besides being an author, Debbie founded multi-award-winning creative studio White River Design and the highly acclaimed Brand Personality System. She is the perfect industry expert for our show. We will hear from Debbie in less than 2 minutes. First, a big thank you to MyZone for supporting our show. MyZone has pioneered unique wearables with talking point technology that makes the difference. Reach more members of your community and keep them engaged for longer through motivation and gamification wherever they choose to work out. In the gym, at home, or outdoors, we're stronger together. Get in the zone at myzone.org. Thank you, MyZone. As a matter of fact, I used my MyZone belt today. So check out all of their great products at www.myzone.org.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
Debbie, what are your top 3 tips on how to evaluate if our current brand needs an update?
Right. There are a couple of things that we want to look at here. Firstly, are your competitors getting your perfect customer instead of you? So if they are getting your perfect customer, there is something that you need to do to really lift your brand and make sure that you are resonating with them. Because right now, if your competitor is getting them, you are not connecting and resonating with them the way you should be. That is tip number 1. Make sure that you are connecting and resonating with your perfect customer. Tip number 2, the perfect way to do this is to find out what your brand personality is, because that will help you craft every element of your brand experience. And what I mean by that is looking at every touch point you have, you can infuse your personality into each one of those elements. And the last one, which is often the hardest one for most people to do, is tip number 3, be consistent. Once you've got your brand set up, once you know exactly what your personality is, how you want to make people feel, how you're going to communicate, your colors, your fonts, your imagery, how you post on social media, how you respond to things on social media, what kind of content you have on your website. I could go on forever. The reality is you need to be consistent. Consistency is key when it comes to branding.
Next week will be an exciting week here at the Fitness Business Podcast because my guest is one of the keynote speakers at the upcoming URSA conference in San Diego. Cassandra Worthy has an electric energy that is so contagious, you will quickly see why she's a dynamic speaker. She is the founder and CEO of Change Enthusiasm, and her expertise is to ensure your organization has the mindset, behavior, and tools to grow through change. After this week's interview with Debbie, I will introduce you to Cassandra during the Quickfire 5 segment.
Health club leaders, you work hard to ensure your members have the very best fitness experience, right? You need personal trainers who do the same. Become a preferred partner with ISSA, and we'll deliver the best trainers in the industry to your club in a matter of days, fully certified and ready to work. And we'll help you keep those trainers by offering them exclusive discounted pricing on ISSA certifications. Because when your trainers stay, so do your valued members. Becoming a preferred partner with ISSA is absolutely free. Click above or visit issaonline.com/fitbiz to get trainers now.
Let's get started with this week's episode. Creative Director from White River Design joins us today, Debbie O'Connor. Debbie has a really super cool topic today. It's not only about branding, but it is how to build a brand with a personality. Debbie, thank you for coming on the Fitness Business Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. We get to talk about my favorite topic, so I'm in my happy place.
So let me just get this straight. You, by trade, you're a graphic designer, but by profession, you're a brand strategist.
That's exactly right. So I trained when I was younger as a graphic designer. And what I found when I was working with clients is that they would come to me and they would say, I need a brand. And I go, fantastic. We're going to get into the whole strategy side of it. And what I found was that they were actually saying to me, I want a logo designed. And the reality is that the logo is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to branding. There is so much more to branding. So what I decided at that particular moment in time was that I couldn't help businesses enough simply by designing them a logo. I really needed to help them with their strategy. But the problem was that most people didn't understand what branding was. And so that is where I thought, okay, I need to solve that particular problem first to help people understand what branding is and then give them a really easy framework in which to work with that they can understand and really maintain their brand for the longevity.
Yeah, what I love about your topic today is that personality piece.
What I like to always reiterate with my clients is that everybody in your industry, so every single one of your competitors does what you do. Every personal trainer does the same thing as another personal trainer. Every hairdresser does the same thing. Every dentist, every graphic designer, every accountant, every doctor, they all do exactly what their competitors do. So if you are simply talking about what you do, you are pushing a boulder uphill because that's exactly what your competitors do. However, if you focus on your personality and how you do things and how you make people feel, you are now speaking an entirely different language. And people are then attracted to you, not because of what you do, but because of how you do it. And that is where the magic lies.
Ooh, like that. The magic lies with the personality. So speaking of magic, what a perfect way to segue into your book. And that is called Brand Magic. And in your book, you talk about brand personalities. And I guess you kind of discussed that a little bit, but I'm going to give you another chance to just go a little further into that topic.
Yeah, so this whole topic of brand personalities, or as some people like to call it in my industry, brand archetypes. What these are 12 personality archetypes that were developed by a psychologist called Carl Jung in the early 1900s. So Jung was a psychologist and philosopher at the same time as Freud, and he studied hundreds and thousands of personalities, and he determined that there were 12 key personalities that kept popping up. Now, the amazing thing is that these personalities actually sit in our unconscious bias. So we all actually know and understand these without me having to teach you, which is amazing. So let me give you an example. If I were to say to you, an innocent maiden, a heroic prince, a ruler over all the land and a wise old woman, I bet you've conjured up in your mind not only what they look like, but also their personality traits. And I would bet you $1 million right now that that innocent maiden does not have short, black, spiky hair covered in tattoos, walking down the street, kicking over bins and swearing at people, right?
Right.
Your brain's going, no, that's not the innocent maiden. But if I say to you, that's the rebel, you go, oh, yeah, totally. I totally get that. So these personalities pitch up in the Bible, stories passed down from father to son, in the fairy tales we tell our children, in the blockbuster movies that we watch and spend billions of dollars on every single year. So why are we not using them to help connect brands to people? And this is what I want to do, is use the same system where we attach personality attributes to a brand to encourage people to be attracted to that brand.
Debbie, if somebody purchases your book, Brand Magic, what can they expect to find inside the pages?
Right. So we look at all of the 12 personalities in depth. We look at it from a personal brand perspective, a business brand perspective. I give lots of examples. I also look at the kind of colors that each particular personality might then use to even enhance it through the psychology of color. I then do a deep dive into the 5 senses. So once you know what your personality is, how can you then apply that to create a brand experience that is oozing your personality at every single touch point, even going down to the 5 senses? And then, because I've been working with personalities for such a long time, and I realize that the 12 archetypes are fairly broad, I've actually broken them down into additional 6 family members. So you can really hone in on the personality and understand exactly what part of that main family archetype you are part of. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. I'm totally attracted to this. I'm like, tell me more. I'll definitely have to take a look at that book and see if I can figure out my personality and how my design and logo would be. So exciting. So there are brands that seem to ooze personality, attract our attention, and make us want to buy from them. And then there's, of course, your brands that are bland and boring. In simple terms, why do you think this happens?
I think that the brands that have really focused on the personality piece understand the essence of branding. So branding is all about what the customer says about you. It's not about what you say about you. And the process of branding is saying, I want the customer to think one thing about me, doing all the things to make sure that at the end, that's exactly what the customer does think of you. So we find that, and I don't know about the States, but certainly in Australia, we've got a bunch of telcos who are in the business of communication. However, communicating with them is insanely difficult. You can phone up a hotline and you have to press 5 different buttons before you're put through to the right person. And then it's usually a recording. And if you are waiting for a human to speak to, you might have to wait for over an hour. Now, the irony of that is crazy, right? They're in the business of communication and you would think they would know better and how to communicate with people. So what they're saying about their business, as in this is how easy it should be to use a telco, and the actual essence of how it actually happens, are very, very disconnected. So what we're wanting to do with branding is to say, right, what do we want the customer to think about us? What do we want them to say about us when we're not in the room? And then we work backwards to go, right, these are all the things that we need to put in place to make that then happen. So let's take Apple and IBM as an example. Now, there is a reason why Apple has so many raving fans. Does it mean that the product is any better than IBM products? No. But it means that they've created an absolute connection with their customer that makes their customer keep coming back, raving about them. They love the fact that they're beautiful products that are innovative and sync their entire life. And IBM just doesn't offer them that. So what you need to look at is, how do you make that absolute connection with your customer? And brand personalities is what can help you do that.
Perfect. So let's talk about those brands and those logos that are old, they're out of date, they're old school, right? How do we change those? And it's interesting. I love this question because the club that I used to work at in Pennsylvania, they just recently went through this. They had a logo and a brand, and they just felt as if, times change, and they felt that it was stale. And they really struggled with trying to kind of keep who they were, but also wanted to feel fresh. So I'd love to hear your advice or your opinion on this.
All right. So a lot of people, when they think of rebranding, they simply think of changing the logo and the colors. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there is no point in changing your logos and your colors if you're not going to change the essence of the brand itself. So if, for example, this particular club is old school, they behave in an old school way, they treat people with old school hospitality, then maybe their current look and feel matches their service, if that makes sense. However, if they're going, we're being left behind, we don't feel that how we do things match our look anymore, we now need to make sure that it's all aligned. So it means that the entire brand changes, the messaging changes. Yes, the logos, the colors, the fonts, the website, the business cards, but the experience needs to change as well. How do you want to make people feel? And that needs to be taken into account when you're looking at the bigger picture. Yes, updating your logo, giving it a fresh approach is always a great idea if there are a couple of issues. Number one, there's been a lot of negativity around the brand. That could be one reason why you go, okay, we want to rebrand, because there's been a bit of negativity and you want to show that, no, we're actually doing things differently. So we're rebranding. This is our new message. This is how we're going to now treat people from now on. The other reason why you might rebrand is because maybe there's new management. And that's when you go, right, let's put a fresh look on the whole thing. The other one might be where there's a massive milestone. Maybe they've reached 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in business. And they're going, right, we want to move with the times, and we're doing an update and a refresh. So there are a number of reasons why you would do a rebrand. Simply going, well, my logo is not very pretty. That's just changing your logo. If you're going to go to the expense of changing your logo, doing a great strategy session is important for you, because you can then change the language and the tone of your brand as well, and map out that experience to make sure that you don't just have a fresh look, you have a fresh approach. And that's super important.
That is important. I like that. So your suggested steps to update the brand, what would they be?
Right. I would always start with a strategy. And in the strategy, you want to find out what your brand personality is. That becomes the foundation, because everything works off your personality. If, for example, you find out that you're a caregiver, the colors and the fonts that you choose are going to be soft and gentle and nurturing. Whereas if you are the hero, the colors are going to be strong and vibrant, as with the fonts and the language. And the language for the caregiver would be that soft, gentle kind of tone. Whereas for the hero, it would be motivating and a bit of a cheerleader, right? So everything changes once you know what that personality is. And the personality is fantastic for businesses to know, because it keeps everyone on track. They understand the concept of a personality. And it means that if you have a team and you say to your team, right, we are the hero brand personality. So when you come to work, you need to lift the energy. You need to have a language and tone that's going to encourage and inspire our customers. That means that when the staff come to work, they have a framework in which to work. They understand how they need to treat people. Whereas if you give them no guidance whatsoever, they just behave the way they want to behave.
So speaking of lifting, let me ask you this question. how can we lift, or how can a club lift their brand experiences by using our 5 senses?
All right. So this I find a fascinating side of things, right? So if we were to look at, so you've got a club, you walk into a physical space. Now, there are not a lot of businesses that actually have physical spaces anymore. So when you have a physical space, you can tap into the sight, sound, and touch, and smell as well. So if you think about it, you can walk in. The Shangri-La has a Shangri-La scent. Every single Shangri-La around the world has the same scent pumping through the air conditioning. So that when you walk into a Shangri-La, if you stayed there before, there is the sense of familiarity, nostalgia that hits them, right? And so different smells will bring across different emotions. So in the book, depending on what the personality is, you might have a zesty, floral arrangement style smell. Or if you are maybe a ruler, you might have a smoky, earthy, leather kind of smell. So when people walk through the doors, immediately there could be a scent. And hopefully it's not smelly bodies, right? You want something that's going to be quite pleasant. So then you think about it. They need to look around them. What kind of furnishings are around them? Are they really upright, structured plastic chairs? Or are there nice couches that people can laze around on? Or do you not want people to laze around? Do you want people not to be sitting around? So the design of the space is created as to how you want people to move around it even. You could have curtains or plush furnishings, depending on what personality you might be. The sound, playing music in the background. It's subliminal, but it is something that people pick up on, especially if they're sitting waiting for something. If they can hear music that is, if you've got Bach or Beethoven playing in the background, it's very different to if you've got modern pop playing in the background. So every single one of these senses plays a role in how you're going to connect with your customer.
I love that. That's so good, because as you were describing that, I was just thinking of different places that I go in, and you're right, sense and sound. I was actually thinking about you going to your hairdresser. You said it's like one of your most favorite guilty pleasures. And I was like, I bet you there's some type of experience there with your senses.
Absolutely. And can I also say with them, they, even though they're not a restaurant, they have actually tapped into the taste element. So when my cup of tea or coffee is brought, they actually bring a little Hershey's kiss. So they're giving you a kiss. And this is part of their subliminal messaging that you are special to them. And they want to make you feel special too. So they could give you any kind of chocolate. They could give you a biscuit. They could give you nothing at all. But they've chosen to give a little Hershey's kiss because that is their messaging to their customer.
Well, Debbie, you gave us definitely a special message today, and that is all about making sure that you bring your personality with your branding and making sure your branding reflects that. And that is such a great message. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Debbie, thank you for joining us today. And I have to say, there were a lot of great takeaways in her segment, for sure. All right, got questions for Debbie? Head to the show notes for her contact information. There is no doubt that she would love to continue a conversation with you. Show notes for today's episode can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. And while you're there, save time in the future by subscribing to the best show notes in the podcast world. Subscribe at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Coming up shortly, Cassandra Worthy, my guest for next week. Looking for a gym wipe that is gentle on fitness equipment but tough on eliminating germs? Look no further. Vapor Fresh gym wipes are specifically designed to be safe on all gym equipment. And the fact that they are the only plant-based disinfectant wipe on the market makes them the top choice. Vapor Fresh wipes come in 2 convenient sizes. The smaller canister is perfect for home gyms and boutique studios, and the jumbo refill roll fits perfectly into the dispensers. Vapor Fresh wipes, 100% happiness guaranteed.
Quick Fire 5, sponsored by Hapana.
Please welcome CEO of Change Enthusiasm and keynote speaker for URSA 2023, Cassandra Worthy. Fitness Business Podcast family, please welcome Cassandra Worthy to our Quick Fire 5 questions. Cassandra, welcome.
What it do? Thank you so much for having me. And what up, listeners?
All right. Love the energy. And, I'd love to go head to head with it.
Let's go.
The listeners are probably like, oh, no. Here goes Dory. All right. Well, listen, we're going to learn a couple of fun things about you, 4 fun things about you, and then I'll give you the chance you get the mic and you get a chance to pitch for your episode next week. So let's get started. The first question is, we want to know what a guilty pleasure is of yours.
So let me first say, I'm going to answer the question, but I'll first say I'm a pleasure advocate. So I try not to get too guilt-ridden when I'm enjoying the pleasures of life, but I will say dessert. Anything that's a dessert. I have an insane sweet tooth. You can ask my wife. When I see a dessert, I can spot it from a distance, and I'm a beeline to the cupcakes, to the puddings, to the cakes, to the brownies, to the cookies. Yes.
What is one habit or action that you do to help you be productive?
Journaling. I have an avid journal practice. I've been doing it for, many, many years now, avidly, probably for the past 8 or 9 years. Every day. It's a spiritual practice for me.
You have a journal book collection, I am assuming.
I do. I have this. I have one that's a little bit larger that I use as my day-to-day journal, and I filled up maybe a dozen of them.
Cool. Good. They're good to have. Very nice. All right. Now we're going to go to an activity that calms you.
Yoga. Huge gratitude to my wife. They have got me involved in yoga through the pandemic. And it is something that feeds my body, feeds my spirit, feeds my mind. And it's a beautiful practice.
Very nice. I think a lot of our FBP family out there listening can relate.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. How about you recommend a book for our FBP family?
Yes. Digital Body Language by Erica Dewan. She's a friend. She's a colleague. She's a business partner, and she is amazing. So definitely recommend following her work and picking up a copy of her book, Digital Body Language. It's relevant for everyone nowadays.
Well, you're like the best friend. You just totally put props out there for her book. Of all the books you could have picked.
Of course. Yeah. Well, it's amazing. I want to make sure the world's reading it.
Hats off to you. Yeehaw. All right. Here we go. You get the mic, Cassandra, and you get about 30 seconds to advertise your episode for next week. Go ahead. Take it away.
What up? I'm Cassandra Worthy, and I'm the founder and CEO of Change Enthusiasm Global. My work is all about empowering the individual to fuel their growth through the biggest changes and disruptions by harnessing the power of emotion. I do that through keynote engagements all over the world, working with the Fortune 500. And then my consulting company also leads training as well as train the trainer certifications to bring the message, the mindset, the tools, our research-backed insights into these organizations at a very, very deep level. So I'm all about change and the emotions of change.
Power up at URSA 2023. We hope to see you in person or virtually. URSA is hosted in sunny San Diego, California from March 20th through the 22nd. With 3 days of education for fitness business owners, there's networking opportunities, and there is over 350,000 square feet of exhibitors on the trade show floor. Now that is a lot of exhibitors. It's a show you simply can't miss. Join a network of fitness industry experts and innovators that are making a difference for a healthier world. Cassandra Worthy radiates energy and enthusiasm. Come back next week for a sneak peek of what you can expect at URSA 2023, as she is one of the keynote speakers. I'm telling you, she's amazing and she's so inspiring. If you are looking for a little inspiration, join Cassandra Worthy on the Fitness Business Podcast. Oh, and make sure you and your team subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player, or even better yet, let us do the work for you and we'll send you the show. Subscribe at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Before we end the show today, I just want to say a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to our founding partner, Active Management. I'd also like to thank our partners, Keep Me, MyZone, ISSA, and Hapana, as well as a big thank you to our advertisers, Rex Roundtables, MX Metrics, and Vaporfresh. We believe what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.